Whether you want to be a minimalist or just downsize your home, I have some suggestions for you. What's up everyone, it's Tito from The Amazing Odyssey, and today we're going to talk about tiny homes and living a minimalistic lifestyle. Now all of these suggestions will have ways to reduce your expenses, eliminate clutter, and help you focus more on sustainability. I'm talking about a lifestyle of conscious consumerism, cutting down on wastefulness, and improving your well-being. I believe in a minimalistic lifestyle for many of the reasons I just listed and a few others, but you may have other reasons you want to do this. For whatever reason you want to pursue this lifestyle, I suggest you seriously ask yourself the questions at the end of this video because it definitely will help you in your research and understanding what options are best for you. Many of these options would be very cool to experience, but this definitely is a lifestyle change if you don't already live a minimalistic lifestyle. So the change from going from where you are now to a minimalistic lifestyle may be harder than it is for others. It can be adjusted to, but this has to be something that you really want to do. I don't want to scare you away from pursuing this lifestyle, but understanding why you want to do this will help you in the long run. One of the main things you need to think about is what kind of lifestyle that you want to live. Do you want to be closer to the city or in a more rural area? Closer to your work or school? These are things you have to think about because some of these tiny home options will not work for you. Okay, so let's just jump right into this. I'm gonna start with the smallest that I can think of and go to like the more stationary tiny homes. So here we go. Okay, some of you may not agree on this one as a tiny home, but well, I guess you can't really say it's a tiny home. I'm talking about like backpacking or living out of your suitcase. So your home would, I guess, technically be the whole world, the whole earth, but you would find places to live wherever it is that you're at the time. So a lot of people travel around the world and they live in other countries and things like that. So with this, you're looking at places to find to stay. So we're looking at like Airbnb, hostels, websites like Workaway, or couch surfing, things like that, to find places to stay around the world. And all your possessions pretty much are in a backpack or suitcases. Things you have to think about with this one is your safety. You will be moving around more than others, I would assume. I mean, it really just depends on what lifestyle you're trying to live in and what your reasons are behind doing it that way. But yeah, you would be moving around more. You wouldn't have like permanent transportation for yourself, personal transportation. You would be taking public transportation normally. So again, we're talking about like Uber, Lyft, taxis, buses, metros, things like that. So you would need to know how things work in the area that you're in and which one to get on and stuff like that, who you can trust, things like that as well. Nowadays though, with technology, it opens up a lot more options and makes things a little bit more easy. So even with like Google Maps, if you were walking, you would just go to Google Maps, type in your destination and put the walking one on there instead of driving, and it will show you what to do, what your steps are to get to where you need to get to. This does require a phone or internet connection. So you can go to like coffee shops, cafes and stuff, and in other countries they have places where there are like internet cafes and stuff like that. But if we're talking about like in America or whatever, or, well, even in other countries, okay, let's say if you can't find an internet cafe and things like that, you need your phone, right? A phone or tablet or something with service. So in other countries, you would need a separate SIM card for that country, depending on where you're at. With any of these options, you have to do your research. What I'm really doing is just kind of giving you an overview of some options for tiny homes and how to live minimalistically, depending on your situation, and my opinion on those different options. So again, do your research. Next, we're going to talk about vehicle conversions. A top one that you probably hear is van life. That's something that I've done and I still want to do. But we're talking about any type of vehicle, basically. So a car, van, a truck, SUV, whatever it is, whatever your vehicle is, your options are. Now, these can be more economical as far as gas than some of the other ones that we're going to talk about next. But they still can consume gas because if this is your only mode of transportation and this is your home, you will be in it a lot. You will be moving a lot. But this also gives you the option to move a lot. So all of your possessions will be with you and you can go wherever you want pretty much as far as your gas can take you. And you can also fit into a lot more spaces than some of the other options. Now, with majority of these, regular maintenance will be needed, especially if this is your home full time. You want to keep it up to par and you want to make sure it's not going to break down on you. Another reason why this would be a good option too compared to some of the others is that you can go off-road, or more so off-road than some of the others, because they will be bigger, heavier, or more stationary. You can't really take those off the road. It all depends on what type of vehicle you have. But some key notes to pay attention to with this option is, again, the maintenance. You will have more maintenance because you will be using it a lot more than just your daily driver or something like that. And you can customize these, but you do have limited customization depending on what your vehicle is. Comparing a car like a Prius, which I've seen people live in their Priuses before, and some continue to do this, any type of car basically, up to a cargo van with a high top, of course your space is going to be different. You can't really customize a car that much, I don't think. With vans though, you definitely have more space to customize, especially if you have a high top or a cargo van over a minivan. With this one though, you probably don't want to go more than 2 people living in one space at a time. But I have seen 2 people and a pet or a couple pets. For me, 2 people, maybe 1 pet max. I think there would just be too much in the space. And again, it depends on what vehicle we're looking at. Bus conversions. Now these can allow a lot of natural light, and I love natural light. But if you're somewhere and you're trying to change your clothes or do whatever it is you normally do, you're probably going to want some curtains or something up there in the windows. But there's a lot of windows in buses, so you would have to cover all of these windows. The thing about this is you're looking at a larger living space, a wider one, a taller one than just a regular vehicle. But the thing with buses, you can get a short schoolie or you can get the regular longer buses. That depends, of course, on how many more people that you can allow in there and it be comfortable. With buses, you can customize them and you have more options to customize. You can make these look like RVs or just regular homes on the inside because of the amount of space that you have and the options that you can put into these, because they can carry a lot more. The only thing with these you have to think about is parking space. Like, where would you park this at? Not a lot of RV parks will allow buses, depending on if you've painted them, if they have been now categorized as a recreational vehicle. I'm not quite sure about all of that behind how to make a schoolie into like an RV or like all of that and how that all goes down. This is something that you would have to research, but I do think they're pretty cool. I would kind of want like a smaller one just because of the longer one is just something too long is I would need my own driver. Oh, and something else is gas. So we did talk about the vehicles before being a bit more economical. Yeah, compared to a bus, as far as gas, is definitely is more economical than a school bus, a longer school bus. Here's an obvious one, RVs, of course. We're talking about RVs. These are like pay and play type of homes. They're already built, okay, normally, and you don't have to do anything with it. Now these can be customized if you find one that you don't quite like the layout of, but depending on how much you're paying for, and if you're like leasing it or something like that, you can't do much customization to it because it's not fully yours yet. So you want to get something that you have nothing to do with customizing it, which I love to customize. That's one main thing that I like about like the van life idea, is that you can customize your own home, but you can do that with a trailer or anything like that. The thing is though, these can be customized if you want them to be. So like for me, when I had my RV, I ripped the dinette out because I didn't need it, and I built a desk area. So I work from home, I need a desk or office area in my RV. The length of your RV will determine how many people can live in it comfortably. Most have pull-out couches, or the dinette turns into a bed, or both. Some have overcab beds, bed in the back, bunk beds. It really just depends on what your needs are and what type of RV you get. The thing about RVs though is they are not meant for harsh weather conditions. They're meant for like mild weather and camping. So you need to do your research and plan, especially depending on your location, because it will determine things you need and things you need to know, especially if you live somewhere where the winters can get kind of harsh, because it's hard for an RV to be fully livable in the winter if you don't know what you're doing, because your pipes can freeze. That's not a good situation. And if it snows, then you can't get out and you're stuck in a place with your pipes that have frozen. And as well, the floor gets cold, air can get under there. So you need to know about these type of things. And it, again, like I said, it depends on your location or where you're going to have your RV at, that you need to know this information. Something else to think about, and this goes with any of these, are leaks. Leaks are something that happens so much with RVs or vehicles when you live in them, and it's not a good situation because you are in a small environment, so you don't want that air to be muggy or have any mold spores or anything, which does happen very often because leaks do start and people don't take care of their roofs. And if you do have an RV, take care of your roof, or any vehicle that you're living in. But yeah, water gets in there behind the walls and stuff like that, causes mold. It's not a good space to live in. It's bad for your health. So you definitely need to check that out. That's very important. And if it does start, then you need to stop it immediately. Don't let it just sit there for a while without taking care of it. And sometimes it's as easy as just getting some caulk and putting it over top of the nails or the screws that are in the roof. Another thing, you want to make sure to keep your RV pretty level. This helps have another person because it just cuts the time. But you can do it by yourselves. Normally RVs have like little levelers in there, so when you are parking it, you can see how level it is, even if you're doing it by yourself. Now this next one is kind of like 2-in-1, but I just felt the need to put these two together because they are on pretty much the same type of chassis, I guess you would say. So trailer homes. This would be trailers, like campers, as well as tiny homes that are on trailers with wheels. So this is any type of trailer with wheels that can pull a house or some type of structure. So these are trailer homes. Like I said, this would be from travel trailers to tiny homes that are on trailers with wheels. So so these are like two separate things. I just want to put them all into one. The thing is though, so with travel trailers, you have pull behind, which can be pulled behind depending on how heavy it is. That would depend on what vehicle can pull it. Then there are fifth wheels, the ones that attach to the bed of the truck, and you would need a certain attachment, a hitch attachment there, and you would need a truck. So that would determine your type of RV that you can get depending on your vehicle and how much it can pull as well. And then with tiny homes that are on trailers, the thing about these are they're really nice, and you don't lose any, or you don't lose a whole lot of like regular home amenities and luxuries because you can fit that all into this home. It's just that especially nowadays too, you have to know your zoning laws where you live at or where you want to live at, and if you need permits and things like that, because they do consider it a structure, a home. So, you know, there's a difference between if it's on wheels or if it's stationary, but this is something that you do have to research and look into, especially depending on your location. And this is the same thing with any type of vehicle or living situation in the location that you live in, because they may have different rules as far as living in vehicles or RVs or tiny homes. So you definitely need to check that out. Again, the size would depend on how many people could live in either one of these. So it would just depend on your living situation. If you have other people that you live with or children or anything like that, that's something to consider, is space, how much space you will need, and would these work for you. Another option are shipping containers. So you see these sometimes, but not a whole lot. Because I think there's probably like logistical things behind this, and it may be a headache or it may just be very costly to do this. I'm not quite sure, but shipping containers. So I don't know if you've seen it or not, but they're shipping containers that you can turn into homes. The thing about this though, I would think, is you would have to get it cut and welded, like windows and doors and stuff on it. So that would take some extra work. Plus you would have to get it delivered. You would have to have a place to put it, like some land. But you could, I guess, get it delivered somewhere else too if everything inside is pretty stationary and wouldn't break or anything like that. It's something you have to think about and consider. But the thing with shipping containers is that they are meant to endure weather and like natural disasters pretty much. You know, just because of their structure, it's metal or steel or aluminum. I don't really know what it's made out of, but you know, they're meant to endure that because they are on ships that cross the ocean through all kind of weather. So they are pretty durable. And I think nowadays, like, you can get them pretty cheap. It's just, like I said, like the delivery cost, where would you put it at? Do you need permits and stuff for that as well? Houseboats. Now, these are really cool. I think they're pretty awesome. I just don't know how well I would do on one. But I would like to experience for a short period of time at some point. But houseboats, yes, they're pretty cool. The thing, of course, there are boats, so they need to be on water. You need to be in a place where there is water and waterways to get your house back and forth to different places if you need to. Or you could just have it stationary. You don't have to move it at all. Same thing with an RV or anything like that. If you find a place to put it, you just leave it there. You don't necessarily have to move it around and keep getting it delivered to different places or tow it different places. So, yeah, so your houseboat can pretty much stay in one place. You can just anchor in somewhere and just pay however much to rent that docking spot. Another thing with houseboats is that when you do take it out, and depending on how big your houseboat is, but when you do take it out, there's not necessarily a lot of traffic like you would have on the road. You are on the water, so it's a lot more ways to go, of course, depending on how big the waterways are that you're on. But normally you don't really have traffic on the water, especially if you're out in the ocean somewhere. It's pretty wide open. But that would be the thing, though, as far as safety would be, if you're out somewhere, you don't necessarily know if the other boat are friendly or not, and you could be out in the middle of nowhere, nobody knows anything that's going on, you know what I'm saying, and they can come up to you, and it's pretty hard to get away too quickly if you don't have like a fast boat. But yeah, that is something to think about, is safety, but that's with any of these as well. Another thing is that the boats rock the whole time usually, and this would be something that I don't know if I can live in it long term with the whole rocking situation, but yeah, you have to think about that. It's gonna be rocking, it's on water. I know that the stoves are a bit different, they kind of move and rock as well, so there are different things that are inside of the boat that you would have to get adjusted to, as well as you're gonna have to know these skills. It's not just something you just hop on and just go. I mean, you can, but you're gonna have to know someone else to kind of help you out, or you really have to research and learn how to maneuver a boat. You're gonna need like a boating license and stuff like that too, so this will take a lot more research in building your skill levels up if you don't already have these skills or don't already know how, to do things on a boat. Maintenance with this, I'm not quite sure. Like I said, I don't really know too much about it, but I do know that they do need certain types of maintenance, and you also have to clean the undersides of it every so often. So again, either you're gonna be paying somebody to do this type of stuff for you, or you're gonna have to learn how to do it yourself. Now this one's pretty cool as well. Like I said, all these are pretty cool, but this one's cool. These are yurts, or I guess you could just say tents in general, any type of tent situation. These could probably go down a bit further on the list as far as like how small and stuff, but again, it depends on how big your tent is. But yurts and tents. So in my opinion, it's kind of the same thing. The thing with yurts is that they're round, and most tents aren't necessarily round. They're more like rectangular or square, or kind of some kind of odd shape depending on what kind of tent you have. But yeah, so this is another option. If you have a place to put this, or if you go to certain campgrounds that will allow these, you would have this option. But these aren't the best in all kind of weather, of course, because these are like tents. These are structures that aren't really that stable. I think yurts are more stable than tents, and again, depends on what kind of tent you have. But I don't know about all weather conditions, like how well these would work, and I think these would only work in certain locations and environment because of the climates. But I do know that you can, like, they're getting fancy now for a lot of this stuff, so you can get like wood stoves inside of your yurts, probably even your tents. I mean, you know, they make these things look really nice nowadays. But the thing is with these, they're pretty much some kind of a like metal or wooden structure, and then they're wrapped in like a canvas or some type of material. So like I said, it depends on what climate you're in, if this will work out or not, especially if you have like children and stuff. You definitely have to take into account for all of that. How will you stay cool? How will you stay warm? All of that. Next are earthen homes, or I guess cob houses will go into this. I think they're also called something else, maybe something like, I think earth ships or something else. But these all go into pretty much the same category, I would say, which is where they use natural materials to build the house. I'm talking about like clay, straw, sand, things like that. These are natural materials that you can find to build a home. Again, it would depend on the climate and where you are, what location you're thinking about doing this in. But these are stationary, so you can't necessarily take them up and move them anywhere else. You would have to make sure that this is a place that you're going to want to be, and you're going to be putting some time and energy into this to make this. But these are very energy efficient and sustainable options. And these can be much cheaper to build than other tiny homes that are structured on trailers or things like that. Like I said, the only things with this is the time it would take you to build it. You would need materials, so you need to find all of that, and it's not movable. So the last one I have for you today, which I'm sure there are plenty other ones, and you can list some below if I've missed some, but the one I want to talk about are tree houses. These seem pretty cool. This is like a childhood type of a thing that I would love to just try out. I don't know if I'd want to live in one, but to just stay in it for a couple nights maybe. But tree houses, yeah, it's pretty cool. Again, the thing with this is, and with all of these, would be how well do they do in the climate that you're going to be in. You know, you don't really want a tree house somewhere where there's a lot of hurricanes, I don't think, unless you know that the structure is very good. Because that's another thing, is the structure of this. How well is it going to withstand the weather over time and things like that? Because you don't want something to just fall apart or, you know, be destroyed within a year or two. You want something that's going to sustain yourself for a while, you can build and live in, and it can allow you to do other things in your life. Which is another reason why I like living minimalistic or simple, is because it cuts out all this clutter from material things and it allows you to focus on other things that are more important to you. Anyway, so with tree houses, another thing that I can think of that may be a problem, but this is with, again, all of these are pests. How are pests in tree houses? Because you are in the tree, so I'm sure you get a lot of things climbing in and crawling in, so I'm not quite sure how that all works out. So I'm sure you'd have to have some things in a place, which peppermint oil, check that out. It's really good with pests. Now remember, this is all just my opinion. I'm just throwing out some of these tiny home choices to open up your options, because maybe you haven't thought about some of these before. But I hope you've gained some kind of insight into the best tiny house option for yourself. Obviously, the choices that you pick determine whether you need to answer these questions or not. So here we go. Can my vehicle tow my house, or will it be stationary? What are the laws in my area that surround this lifestyle? Where can I legally park my home? Now, this is important because depending on where you live at, there may be ordinances, city ordinances, against living in a vehicle on the street or in a parking lot or something like that. So you definitely need to look into this. And trust me, you don't want to stress about where to park when you're tired and it's time to go to sleep at night. Will your home be customized or not? How much will this cost? You need to know how much this is going to cost so that you can save and be prepared for the lifestyle that you want to live comfortably. Really try to be realistic about your needs versus your wants. I know you want a lot of things in life and you're comfortable living a certain way if you have a home and all this other stuff and multiple bathrooms and things like that, but you need to be realistic about your needs first, especially if you really want to live this lifestyle. What do you really need to be healthy and happy? And then you can add in some wants if it allows it in your budget and in the lifestyle or the tiny home that you choose. And like I said, I'm going to leave a list below of different things for you to think about that came up during my experience of living in tiny homes or a minimalistic lifestyle that I think are very important because they will come up at some point when you do live this way. Now, if you found this helpful, please give me a thumbs up and leave in the comment below your favorite tiny house option and why. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now so you can be notified for my next few videos. And I'll catch y'all in the next video. Continue to shine on.